So I'm going to hand over to Alex now. Give us a bit of an overview in terms of uSecure.
Perfect, thanks, Liam. Yeah, just a couple of things about the uSecure as a company. So we founded in 2016. We're based in Manchester, in the UK, and we work with almost 500,000 people across the globe now. And we're all about what we call human risk management. So it's really linked to what Liam was saying about focusing on the person, on the individual, because everyone's different. So we want to make sure that we provide, again, tailored content, like a tailored, effectively, like program for every employee.
So next slide, yeah. There you go.
Perfect. Yeah, the human element is extremely important. 74% of breaches is because of that. The insufficient user training is a big one, because typically in companies, people will be trained maybe once a year or twice a year with like a 1 hour long webinar about cybersecurity that will tackle like loads of different topics. And we've all been in those like kinds of conferences, like all of us, where like you listen for like 10 minutes, then you're on your phone, then you forgot what the guy was saying, then you listen again half an hour later. Like it doesn't work. Again, people are different. You cannot train the dev team the same way as like house workers, for example. So we think that having really short training courses more frequently, maybe like once a month, is a lot better than having these like big sessions that would be like once a year. Working remotely as well, the culture has shifted a little bit, because before everyone would be in the office together. So people would speak. Someone would get an email that's a bit suspicious. They would ask the guy next to them, be like, "Hey, like, what do you think this is?" It'll be a lot more sharing inside the business. But now everyone works at home. People talk less. So it's also impacted like human error, really. The policy process is quite similar. Companies really need to have a set of, I guess, processes in place that will explain to employees, if you get a weird email, what do you do with it? Because if it's not documented, people are going to be confused. They might click on something wrong, or they might just delete the email when another colleague could get caught by it. But if they reported it, then it wouldn't have happened. So that's also something people need to be aware of. And yeah, AI threats is a huge one, obviously. As Liam and I said earlier, attacks now are very targeted. They also look a million times more realistic than before. Because I'm sure, Liam, your customers had this before, where like they would get an email filled with spelling mistakes, come with like Amazon with like an S, and they look really poorly, and people don't get caught by those. But I'm sure now you get customers sending you emails. I'm guessing they look quite realistic, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've had customers that have had things like spear phishing attacks, where they've had a domain that looks really like their domain set up, for example. So then the emails, are really hard for the average user to spot. And as you say, the copying of the content now. So how pixel perfect they are when you compare them side by side. Yeah, it's really hard nowadays to sort of differentiate.
Yeah. Compliance, that's obviously a big one. It used to be a bigger thing for larger companies, but now everyone's affected. Even if you're a small business, you need to be compliant with, at least it can be ISO, it can be NIS2 if you're based in mainland Europe, Cyber Essentials. So now companies will need to do, again, training and phishing comes from that. It will be included if you want to become compliant. So that's why having a platform like uSecure, but even having like an MSP partner is key, because it's extremely difficult to manage. Liam, you spoke about this earlier, like about the IT team. Typically an IT team has to do a million things. Like they have to do so much. So asking them to also do compliance, which ISO, you need like a million things to be ISO compliant. Working with an MSP company is like a key thing for that. But yeah, what's your experience being like actually, Liam? I'm guessing you guys get asked for a lot by customers for like compliance, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, Cyber Essentials in the UK is growing more and more now, and we're finding that more and more customers, as a way of them winning customers, especially if it's government, for example, or councils. Then being Cyber Essentials compliant is part of winning that tender. Without it, you're not gonna get that business. So it's starting finally, I think, after many years of sort of the finance of the world being sort of the PCI and things like that. I think it is slowly starting to filter down, and the NCSC have done a great job, I think, in pushing that as well. But like you say, it is another thing that the business has to deal with in terms of it falls to IT's pile of stuff that they have to solve, along with everything else with a chip in it, and so on and so forth.
Exactly. So now a bit more about uSecure specifically, how it ties into compliance and training. So we'll touch on that in a sec, but effectively you've got a couple of different things from the platform that helps with the human risk management aspect of things. So you can have a couple of different features that will be like interlinked really, like a training platform, a phishing platform as well. So we're going to train people on cybersecurity. At the same time, we're going to test them through phishing emails to see how they can react to them. And we'll also include some policy management. So, documentation we can send to employees about processes, which is what I spoke about earlier. So yeah, we can dig a bit deeper into this in a sec. And yeah, again, it's linked to what we were saying earlier. It's all about training people specifically because everyone's different. So it's about offering users like a tailored program for them that will cover their gaps, the knowledge gaps about cybersecurity. And because there's so many topics that you can cover, having a system really dedicated for that is really important.
Yeah, that's great. So it's essentially building out with the gap analysis where their weak spots are, and then tailoring the sort of content of the training to what they specifically need to train in. So if somebody actually joined the business, Alex, who maybe has been trained really well in a previous role, then this is going to identify their sort of skills and weak areas and then train them accordingly. In the same way, if you've trained all your staff for a long time and actually your staff level is getting quite good in terms of where they are, and then you hire someone who's never been trained, you're going to need to have a different program then, in essence, to everyone else, right?
That's exactly it, especially for new starters, because if you're a company and you have like 5 new joiners, you're not going to know how much they know about cybersecurity. It's not possible. So having this initial quiz, as you said, Liam, that able to like give the company, I guess, an overview of what the employees know about. If you see this core law and everything from the quiz, you can be a bit like, okay, well, those people, we need to train them like during the inductions, like as soon as possible. Because especially hackers know about this. They know about new employees, and they know that maybe like MFA hasn't been set up yet because they're early in the induction. So they're going to try to send a phishing email right before that. So you have to be very careful about that.
That's really interesting, and you're right, because the adoption of these kind of products is still not uniform. Every employee joining is like a gamble or roll of the dice, right? In terms of like how good they're going to be or how bad they're going to be, and that's when you look at what this can do and how it can adapt. That's the really interesting feature, I think, that makes a difference.
For sure. A quick case study, because again, it's all about being able to show trends and how the company became better through the training, through the phishing. For example, from this specific client, we saw that the compromise rate from the phishing decreased by almost 30% after year 1, which is really good, because typically, again, let me know if that happened to customers as well, but during the first campaign, lots of people get compromised. Typically, the compromise rate can be like very high, and it decreases over time because people now, they've done the courses, they've been trained through the phishing simulations, so they become more aware of things. Is that what you've been feeling as well?
Yeah. No, absolutely. The first run is carnage. Normally, if it's a fresh, never been sort of ran before environment, the first run will be, a bit of a bloodbath to an extent. But then after that, you start to see the measure, improving. We come back to what we talked about, reducing risk and the program being effective.
Yeah, exactly. More on the courses, and typically you can have like a 30%, I guess, increase from the user awareness, because it becomes like a ritual and people get quite into it. Obviously, you have a first course to take care of, but afterwards, if you get your monthly course, you get it like the last Friday of the month before leaving work. It's a quick video, couple of questions. People tend to react really well to them, again, because it's tailored, because we're not going to send everyone the same course. We're going to be able to offer them what they need to be trained on realistically. So the adoption rate is up to 94% for the specific client. Again, it's because it's a monthly course. If it was like a 20-minute course every 2 weeks, it would be possible. But same thing, Liam, do you think, is that what you've seen as well with customers who use uSecure? Like typically pretty high compromise, completion rates, and people adopt with it quite well?
Yeah, absolutely. We found it. Yeah, and I think the bite-sized nature of it is absolutely well received by a lot of people who maybe view IT as a bit of a necessary evil, should we say? But they don't really want to have a task to be sat at the computer watching a video for the next 30 minutes and then answering questions on it. They want to just really know what they need to know as quickly as possible. And that through being adaptive and being a bite-sized sort of targeted content for them, I think that's been well received.
Perfect. Yeah, because realistically, I mean, I'm guessing you agree with me. No one wants to do courses. No one gets up in the morning and is like, yeah, like I want to do like my 5-minute course about cybersecurity. Yeah. So it's all about they still need to be trained. So it's about finding the balance between like, okay, you have to train them, but not too much, not too often. It needs to be tailored. It's really a balance to get with.